On Larry King Now, Boy George on Reuniting with Culture Club for the first time in 15 years.
For me, it felt like an opportunity to kind of rewrite the ending. Because, you know, the one that we'd had was a little messy.
On his 7 years of sobriety.
I'm now, I think, probably in the best shape I've been in a long time. I'm 7 years sober, just. And I'm, I think, kind of finally happy in my own skin.
Plus, what do you think of braces?
I think braces, well, I think the colour coordination that you're working today, I mean, it's healing colour, it's the mauve and the lilac. It's great.
You like braces?
I do, yeah.
For me.
For you. Well, I think the thing is, the trick is to be undefinably you, and I think you're definitely undefinably Larry King. There's no argument about that.
All next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. Boy George is back. Singer, songwriter, DJ, fashion icon, pioneer for the LGBTQ community. In addition to his massively successful solo career, Boy George is also the lead singer of the Grammy Award-winning group Culture Club, a band who sold over 50 million albums and 100 million singles worldwide. Culture Club will be reuniting for a North American tour this summer, as well as a much-anticipated new album titled Tribes. Welcome.
Hi, Larry.
Do I call you man now instead of boy?
Well, boy is, yeah, people still call me boy, so just call me boy.
Okay. How did the Culture Club back, how did that happen?
It's been a long, long process. It didn't just happen. This has been going on for 4 years. We met 4 years ago. I happened to say to, I think, John, over a coffee, what do you think about us doing something? You know, I didn't know what it was going to be, what form it would take. And initially he was quite taken aback because they actually reformed without me and replaced me briefly. It didn't work. It didn't work.
Were they mad that you left them?
No, I think you know, the thing about Culture Club is we didn't ever officially break up. We just kind of drifted apart. You know, we went off and did our own thing. And there was always, you know, we toured about 15 years ago, so there was always the sort of chance that we would do something new. And, you know, when I spoke to John, it was just really an idea, you know. And for me, it felt like an opportunity to kind of rewrite the ending. Because, you know, the one that we'd had was a little messy, a little vague. You know?
How many are in the group?
There's 4 of us in total.
And so John finally bought it?
Well, John was surprised but very eager. Mikey had always wanted us to work. You know, Mikey had kind of kept in touch and had sort of made comments over the years. And Roy, who lives here in LA, was also, you know, up for it. I mean, you know, we are something very magical together, you know.
Well, were they mad when you went solo?
No, I mean, they all went off and did their own thing. You know, they had kids and became, you know, sort of fathers, and, you know, they've all got lots of children and they've been very domestic. And they've also done music things. You know, Roy was working with Hans Zimmer for many years. And
really?
Yeah. So they've all done their own thing.
So when you left, but what happened to you? That you were on the face of you were in front of the public a lot. And
yeah, I mean, I've had, you know, a very successful solo career. You know, I've been doing lots of different things. You know, I've had my ups and downs. All sorts of things have gone on. But I'm now, I think, probably in the best shape I've been in a long time. I'm 7 years sober, just. And I'm, I think, kind of finally happy in my own skin. I finally got here.
So you're going to have an album as well?
Yeah, the album's done. Just waiting for the right time to drop
Tribes.
Tribes.
Is that one of the songs?
No, I just think that Culture Club is a tribe. You know, a band is very much the sum of its parts. And, you know, we grew up in the sort of 70s and the 80s when, you know, particularly in the UK, we had all these wonderful kind of fashion movements like punk and the rockabillys and the mods and you know, the new romantic. So there were these kind of fashion tribes, and we were kind of part of that. So in a way, it's a kind of tribute to that kind of, you know.
And your tour is all over North America?
All over America, concentrating on America, yeah. Starting in Denver.
In June or July?
In July.
Switching gears, last year in an interview with Rolling Stone, you said the following. A lot of people wrote me off over the past 10 years. I can't blame them. I would have written me off too after all those car crashes I put myself through. There's no way back from that little disaster, but I've always had an insanely optimistic streak. Part of me that says things can't be as bad, stay as bad as they are now. It might be an Irish thing, I don't know. Still feel that way?
Oh, very much, yeah. Although I like to think that my car crash days are kind of over. I'm done with that. You know, I feel like in the last kind of 10 years, I've reached a point where I feel very lucky to do what I do. You know, when you're young and all this stuff happens, you know, I never really had to be grateful because my career sort of fell in my lap overnight. You know, one minute I was just a kid going to clubs, the next minute I was famous all over the world. And, you know, when you're successful, you don't really stop to sort of think, I should be grateful, or isn't this wonderful? You know, you kind of take it for granted and you sort of think, oh, it's always going to be like this. And I think one of the advantages of having kind of dips and disasters is that you reach a point where I think I am now, where you just think, oh my God, you know, I get paid to do what I love. I better start enjoying this.
How did you get back? You were addicted, weren't you?
I was addicted, yeah. And I basically, you know, for me it was just, it was waking up one morning and just thinking, I've had enough of this. I'm not happy. I don't look good. I don't feel good. You know, nobody likes me.
Did you miss the limelight?
No, not so much the limelight. I mean, I think for me the big challenge has been to kind of learn to enjoy what I do. You know, I think that's the thing. You know, when you're young, you kind of make it all more difficult than it really needs to be.
Trying to remember something. How did Boy George become famous? What happened that propelled you from this little guy in London to... You're Irish, right?
Yeah.
What propelled you? How did you become world famous?
Well, to start with, I discovered David Bowie at 11 years old. And that was the beginning of me kind of going, oh my God, I'm not alone. There are other aliens in the world that are like me. And I sort of joined that kind of glam rock tribe. And then sort of went through punk rock. And, you know, I saw a lot of my friends.
Well, was there a record? Was there... what? How did the world get
Well,
to know you?
it was really just seeing my friends starting bands. You know, during the punk thing, it was a very DIY kind of scene, and you didn't really have to be a sort of traditional musician. You didn't have to go on the road for 25 years. People were kind of doing things quite spontaneously. So I saw friends doing it, and I was like, I'm going to do that. And really my big break was Elton John. We have this show in England called Top of the Pops, which is the big show, you know, and it's quite difficult to get on that. And this one week, Elton John was either unwell or they wanted him performing live and he wanted to use a video and they said no, so we got his slot. So in a way, it's all Elton John's fault.
So that was the Culture Club, right?
Culture Club, yeah. We were, you know, kind of given his slot and we got on TV and...
They're back. They'll be on North American tour. They've got an album coming. Things are back for Boy George and the Culture Club. Does Boy George have any style tips for me and you? We'll find out after the break. We're back with Boy George. We're looking forward to the new album, Tribes. They'll be in a major North American tour this summer. You can find all of us. There are people, how do they find out where you're going to be?
Yeah, Facebook, Boy George and Culture Club, or boygeorge.com.
Boygeorge.com. You'll find out every appearance, every place. You're known for your unique style. How would you define the Boy George look?
Well, I've always kind of done my own thing. You know, I mean, I've been described as a kind of fashion icon, but I've actually always avoided fashion, really. I've always kind of just done... I'm a bit of a fashion mutt, you know, I don't follow rules. I always try to find things that other people don't have. You know, I always add something to what I do.
Like, how did you decide that you would wear this today?
Well, I've always worn a hat. A hat has become my thing. And I don't know, I think some people can carry off a hat, and I'm one of them.
Yeah, you can.
That sounds really modest.
Is there currently any artist that you think is really in style?
Ooh, I saw this guy, Nate Roos, the other day performing on the iHeart Awards, and it was just a very passionate... He's the singer from that band, Fun. Yeah. He has a new song out called Nothing Without Love, and I thought for me that was a standout performance of the show.
What do you think of braces?
I think braces, well, I think the colour coordination that you're working today, I mean, it's healing colour, it's the mauve and the lilac. It's great.
You like braces?
I do, yeah.
For me.
For you?
May not be.
Well, I think the thing is, the trick is to be undefinably you, and I think you're definitely undefinably Larry King. There's no argument about that.
Your career took off the 70s and 80s. When did you come out? Were you reluctant to reveal your sexuality at all?
I came out when I was 15 to my family and was very much out until we had our first #1, and then there was sort of a lot of pressure to rein it in. You know, there was a lot of, it was kind of subtle, but it was like considered not good for business. So we went through this period of what I call ambiguity, where I didn't say yay or nay. But then in a way, a lot of my favourite heroes, you know, from the 70s, the Bowies and the Jaggers and all of that, there was always kind of question marks around their sexuality. So it wasn't a bad thing to have a little bit of mystery, you know. But in my personal life, I was out when I was 15.
And publicly, eventually, right?
Eventually, yeah. I mean, in the early days, I used to sort of tell people I was bisexual, which just basically means I'm gay.
Are you happy with the progress being made by the gay and lesbian community?
Yeah, I think in America particularly, surprisingly, you know, I think that you're leaps ahead in some ways, you know. You have African-American football players coming out, which, you know, we don't have any out footballers in the UK.
Do you think more gay artists will be emerging now?
It would be great if it got to the point where it was about whether you're interesting and not whether you're gay or straight. You know, are you any good?
What do you think about the Indiana mess we're going through?
This new law?
Yeah.
Well, there are things around the world. There's a thing at the moment in Ireland, which is a similar thing. It's kind of old-fashioned. You know, it's like, move on. You know, move on. It's so, you know, it's so crazy.
If you were scheduled to perform in Indiana, would you not perform?
I always feel like it's important to bring your music to the people that love you. You know, so if you're depriving the little gay boys and girls of Indiana of your music, then that's probably not a good thing to do. You know, I would kind of do a bit of research and find out whether they wanted me there. I'm sure there's lots of people in Indiana. Indiana Wants Me, that's the song, isn't it?
How did you get sober?
How did I get sober? By going to meetings, by embracing a kind of sober lifestyle, by you know, reaching out to other people. You know, other people that were in a similar situation. You know, that's the key, not to isolate, to find other people who actually understand what you're going through.
Did you perform when high?
Not really, no, not really. I mean, I can't say that I never did, but as a rule, no.
Well, marriages now, gay marriages, a fact. Would you marry?
I'd have to find someone to marry me first.
Would you want to marry?
No, I personally wouldn't want to marry, but I uphold anyone else's right to do that, you know. I kind of feel like have the right to do it and then just don't, just to be controversial. But, you know, there are conservative gay people and they like the idea of being married, and, you know, I've been to a few gay weddings, they're great. If that's what you want, you know, you should be able to do that.
London is home, right?
London is currently home, but I'll be coming to LA in the next couple of months. I'll be living in Los Angeles, so I'll be around.
Why the move?
My manager's here, and you know, it's a funny thing about LA. I used to come to LA and think, oh, there's nothing to do, but now I'm a little bit older. The lifestyle here is
nothing to do.
We know, like clubs. You know, it's not like New York where, you know, you can go out till 5 in the morning. You know.
No, it's not at 5 in the morning.
No, but I think that for me, you know, where I am in my life, it's a perfect place to be. You know, I can go hiking and bump into Justin Bieber. It's brilliant.
Do you ever go back to Ireland?
Yeah, I was in Ireland. Unfortunately, my one of my aunts passed away, so I was in Ireland a month ago to bury my aunt, and I came back from Ireland, you know, so proud of my Irish roots, you know. I mean, it's such a different place to the UK, Ireland, you know.
You plan to be an American citizen?
Not right now.
Boy George, he's moving stateside. Could he be your new neighbor? Don't click away. Boy George is with us. He'll be on tour this summer with the Culture Club. They're back. We're going to have an album, Tribes, that's coming out. Things are getting big again for Boy George. And he's going to be moving to L.A. We've got a British music invasion again in the United States. We've got Sam Smith, Ed Sheeran, Jesse Hosier. You're coming back. What do you make of this?
Well, I think I've always thought America has really good taste when it comes to music. You know, you can't hoodwink America. They either like you or they don't, you know, and it's always interesting what British acts do kind of go over well in America. You know, it's never predictable. It's always, you know, I think the trick is to come here and just be really British. Don't come here and try and be more American. Come here and just be yourself.
By the way, you've been in the music business a long time. How do you compare it now to when you started?
Well, people don't buy records like they used to. You know, the record isn't such a sacred object anymore. And you have to kind of move with the times. You know, there's just a whole lot of new ways to kind of interact with people. Things like, you know, Instagram and Twitter, where you can actually talk to people all over the world. I mean, imagine had that been around when I was 14 and trying to chat to David Bowie. It would have been amazing just to get a happy birthday from Bowie. So there's that kind of spontaneity, which is wonderful, but there's also the problem that everybody has an opinion and they put it out there in public. And so it's not just the critics anymore, it's everyone.
You have advice for emerging musicians?
Well, I think I always say, you know, learn to love what you do, you know, learn to enjoy it, don't make it a drama, you know, learn to kind of realise that to be able to get paid for doing the thing you love is such a luxury, and just try and make the most of it, you know.
Do you enjoy DJing as much as performing?
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Well, it is a performance.
It is a performance, you know, and you've got to think on your feet and, you know, take risks and, you know, and, you know, it's different to performing in the sense that, you know, when you do a live concert, you can make people cry, you can make them dance. But with DJing, you know, it's about keeping people, you know, moving and happy, you know.
We'll play a little game of If You Only Knew. Okay, just throw them at you. Remember the first person you kissed?
It was a girl called Brenda Ritchie.
How old were you?
I was probably 14. She was one of my brother's friends.
You have an embarrassing moment on stage?
Once in Canada, I bounced on stage with a dry cleaning hanger on the back of my outfit that I forgot to remove, and I was jumping around, so that was quite funny.
Proudest accomplishment?
I would say probably being sober.
Damn right. Artist we'd be surprised you listen to?
Julio Iglesias.
I like him.
I love his voice. I mean, he's a real singer, and people are always surprised, but I think he's amazing.
Artist you'd most like to collaborate with?
David Bowie.
Still David Bowie.
Still David Bowie. Yeah.
City with the best fans?
Ooh. And I'm going to have to say Los Angeles because I'm here.
No, you can say anywhere.
I think people, you know, I think generally America, people are very enthusiastic. You know, you don't have that British cynicism here. You know, people come to a show and they have fun. You know, they don't come to judge. They come to have a good time, you know.
What style from the 80s do you wish would come back today?
People buying records.
One thing you'd change about the world?
Well, I mean, the obvious thing would be poverty. You know, people going hungry. That's the big thing.
No reason for that.
No reason at all.
You're stranded on a desert island. What 3 things would you want to bring with you?
I'd probably bring my manager PK because he's very resourceful. He'd find someone to build a house.
Or get off the island.
Yeah, he'd find a yacht. I think fun people. I'd have to bring 2 or 3 fun people that would kind of help me not go insane and help me think of ways to get home again.
If not music, what do you think you'd do?
I would be involved in probably fashion, you know, or some kind of PR. I'd need to be around people, constant flow of people, or even art would be interesting.
Boy George in 10 years.
Hopefully more spiritual, more wise, more centred, more happy.
Are you spiritual now?
Well, it's a dangerous word, isn't it, saying I'm spiritual, because I think spirituality is a doing thing, it's a verb. But I certainly try to be more spiritual.
Are you happy?
Yeah, which is something I probably couldn't have said, you know, in the past. But yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah, it must have been terrible at the lowest point, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
but when you're in it, you're in it. You know, you're not. This is the weird thing about low points and high points, is that when you're in a situation, you know, you're so in it that you know you can't see outside of it. It's only when you have the luxury of clarity and sanity that you can say, oh my God, why would I ever choose to be there, you know?
Yeah, only when you look back. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, life is a wonderful thing in hindsight. You know, you look back, you think, why would I choose to be miserable? You know, why would I choose to be...
But when you were at the end of the ropes, there had to be a time when you...
Yeah, I think you need that, though, because that's the thing that kind of helps you turn the corner. You know, you have to... In recovery, we call it rock bottom, you know, and everybody has their own idea of what's the worst situation. And, you know, you hear stories and you think, oh, my God, you know, you hear stories and you think, I don't think I would have survived that. You know, it's incredible what human beings will put themselves through. But I think you do need those kind of points of you know, realization in order to kind of turn that corner.
In our final moments, Boy George will take your questions. Stay with us. Culture Club will be on tour this summer. Check out boygeorge.com, find out dates, and look forward to the album Tribes. We have flooded with social media questions for you. Ken Dawson on Facebook. What are your thoughts on the success and acceptance of Sam Smith, and are you friends with him?
Not friends, but we've met, and he's very sweet. He has a beautiful voice. It's funny now because when people say they're gay, it's almost like no one cares. You know, it's like there's. I think because we live in this kind of crazy information age that like that becomes. Do you know what I mean? 30 years ago, it would have been a story that ran and ran probably, but now it's like, oh yeah, whatever, next.
An incredible voice, though.
Beautiful voice, yeah.
Mary Mantris on the Larry King Now blog. What comes first for you, lyric or melody?
That's a difficult one. Lyric is obviously the first thing, and then melody is the thing that kind of holds it together. The two things are kind of inseparable in a way, but if you have a great opening line, you know...
You can put the music to it.
You know, if you think of any great song that you love, you know, from Sinatra to whoever, that opening line is what you remember, you know.
Michelle Rangel on the Larry King Now blog. Now that you've mentored on American Idol, would you ever consider being a judge on a singing competition?
If it was the right show and I felt that I could kind of add something. I mean, it was surprising because I was actually able to make a difference, which was a shock to me. I thought, oh, actually, this is sort of real, you know.
Christine Garina via the Larry King Now blog. Apart from getting back with the Culture Club, what other lines of work are you pursuing? Can we expect any more solo work?
Yeah, we'll be doing, I'll be doing other records, but at the moment, you know, I want to focus on this Culture Club tour and our album, which, you know, is surprisingly good. You know, it was such a surprise to kind of, you know, after all that time to go back and, you know, the weird thing about bands, you know, you can argue, you can disagree, but then you suddenly get on stage or you get in the studio and it suddenly all makes sense.
What kind of places do you work on tour? Big halls?
Yeah, you know, it depends. You know, this tour is about kind of reigniting our audience. So, you know, we're doing like 5,000, 6,000 seaters.
Natalie Roy on the Larry King Now blog. What inspired you to write Do You Really Want to Hurt Me?
Well, back then, you know, I was always, my songs were like a kind of diary, you know, I'd always write about what was going on in my life. It was very kind of, oh, woe is me, poor me, you broke my heart. And it's funny when I listen to those songs now, I look back at those songs, I don't really write like that anymore, you know, because I suppose as an older man, I'm a little bit more comfortable with myself. And so my subject matter has really broadened out, you know, almost anything can be a song, you know, whereas early on it was always about me, poor me, you know.
Jasmine Alameda on the Larry King Now blog. After a long, successful career, how do you come up with a great songwriting idea? Like, what inspires you? Almost
anything. I was talking to someone the other day about Barry Manilow, and they said, you know, Barry never likes to stay in Vegas, and they said he never likes to sleep in Vegas. And I said, that sounds like a country song. I don't want to sleep in Vegas. That can be the beginning of a song, you know, almost anything anyone says. And the great thing about having these new gizmos is you can just write down or tape, you know, almost anything can be a song.
I got a great first line for a country song.
Go on.
Maybe you can finish it.
Okay.
I'd rather be homeless than be home with you.
That's a good line.
I'd rather be homeless than be home with you. Loving you.
And that sounds like the sort of song I would write as well.
Being with you is such a drag. Okay.
I'm going to do it. Watch
V. Miller Hunt via the Larry King Now blog. With gay marriage prevailing in many places worldwide, will you ever be interested in getting married?
I think I answered that, but no, it's not something.
Not at all.
Not really. I mean, but, you know, one has to be really careful what one says because, you know, somebody might pop out the woodwork and go, will you marry me? But I don't consider myself to be the marrying kind.
Mary Further on Facebook. To what do you attribute your change of depth and resonance in your voice?
Age, experience, time, you know. I mean, what did... You know, somebody recently said that, you know, when you're young, you sort of sing up to heaven, and when you're older, it becomes more gravitational. You know, you sing, I think it was Peter Gabriel was talking about that. In a way, I've become more of a blues singer, more of a kind of jazzy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I like that, you know.
Yeah. And OGS Tink Baby on Twitter. What's your favorite kind of pizza?
Gluten-free, what a bore.
Does gluten-free pizza taste good?
Yeah, you can do raw pizza, which is dehydrated. It's unbelievable.
Raw pizza? What's on it?
Well, it's all the pizza, but you make the dough in a dehydrator, which is this kind of amazing thing that kind of works like the sun, so it doesn't overcook it. It's amazing. We'll have to get you some sent over.
Do they have great pizza in London?
We do, but there's nothing quite like an Italian pizza in Italy. You know, when you're in the actual place, it's a whole nother...
Oh, New York pizza ain't bad.
Yeah, you know, there's nice thin ones, you know.
I love
delicious.
the thin New York pizza.
Yeah.
What's the #1 food in Ireland?
The #1 food, and probably potatoes. Still after all this time.
Hey, boy, great have, as always.
Thank you very much.
Big thanks to my guest, Boy George. Don't forget, he'll be back in concert with Culture Club this summer. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Kings Things. I'll see you next time.